Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for the Sparkle and Shine interview series. I'm really excited to be here today, and I'm really excited to talk with the lovely Tiana Clewis. She is an incredible woman, and she has a lot of faith, and has a family and a husband and runs a business and a podcast and all these things. And I'm just really, really excited for our conversation, the insights that she's going to, the little nuggets of wisdom she's going to drop for us. But really, really quick, let's make sure that we all know where we are and who we're talking to. This is Kendall. I'm Kendall of New York Content Creation Services. I work with entrepreneurs and business owners to help them repurpose their content so they can increase their visibility and reach while maximizing their content, their time, and their energy. Tiana, please, sweet lady, tell us all about you, who you are, what you do, and don't forget that great podcast that you've got going.
So first, before I even talk about who I am, thank you, Kendall, for having me on. I love the fact that you and I understand each other's struggles as moms with lots of kids and husbands that are doing their thing. So I love the fact that you are out here making it happen. My name is Tiana B. Clewis. I am a financial lifestyle coach and startup strategist with my labor of love, Sea Law Financial Coaching. And this it was a long journey to get here, and I'm not going to tell you the whole journey, but just know there was some fraud involved where I'm investigating fraud. I'm seeing the good and the bad things that people do with money. And in the midst of me being a fraud accountant, my husband and I jacked up the finances, and it was terrible. And in our journey to get back to a place of financial health and happiness, I realized that I wanted to help other people do the same things. I found myself kind of on the side helping people do the very thing that I do now. And so I started with personal finances, and I ended up helping people grow their businesses, because probably 90% of the women that came to me wanting help with their finances, the reason why, one of the things they ended up doing was wanting to start their business, because most of the time nowadays, it's like a 9 to 5. It's just not enough to keep up. We're in the Dallas area, and you guys have probably heard that the Dallas area is growing. It's booming. Rent, like people are paying $1,200 for a loft, which in some areas is not a big deal. But here, that is an insane amount of money to pay for an apartment with no bedroom. And so most 9 to 5s nowadays, they're just not enough for people to get by. So women are starting businesses in droves, and I want to help women do that so they can get out of debt, so they can build generational wealth, and so that they can retire and be happy, healthy women.
Yeah, 9 to 5s are almost part-time jobs now, except that we work 9 to 5.
You know what I mean? It is highly disrespectful.
I mean, let's just be honest about it. I mean, everybody knows who, if you've been following me even for like 5 seconds, I'm sure that you've heard me mention somewhere, sometime, that I once worked in social work before I had kids. And I worked for an agency that paid really well. And then I went and advanced my education so that I could continue to pursue. And the next professional full-time job that I held did not even pay what my first job held. So imagine what that feels like. Anyway, yeah, most full-time jobs now, you got like a full-time salary, but full-time salary these days you can't keep up. It's hard.
And there's a lot of women having that struggle. Especially when you consider that, okay, so I'm just going to tell you one of the things that drives me nuts. So you look at people who work in social work, because I've had some social work clients, I've had people who were teachers and teachers' assistants. And the thing that I find extremely disrespectful is that we require these people to have degrees. And in some cases, we require them to have advanced degrees, but then we don't pay them commensurate to the amount of money it's going to take them to first just pay off the debt that they had to take on to get the degree in the first place. And so many of these people, they're going into social work, they're going into being teachers because they want to help. They want to help build up the next generation. But it's like the market has decided that we don't respect these people enough. We don't respect their intelligence and their time enough to pay them what they deserve. And what's even worse is that social workers and teachers do not work 9 to 5. They're just 9 to 5 with maybe their clients, or 9 to 5 with their students. But then there's stuff they have to do outside of it that takes them all night. And so honestly, like, one of the things we got to get right in the US that I find really disrespectful, something we need to reevaluate, is how do we treat the people who are trying to build the next generation? Like, they need to be able to eat too.
Yeah, you know, and let's just tie this in, okay? Let's tie it in. We're not gonna super go there, because I know that you can go off about it, and I don't know that anybody who doesn't know me, except in real life, face to face, they don't know how badly I can go off on it. So we're not going to go there, okay? Because otherwise this will turn into the rant show of Kendall Patton. So we don't want that to happen, okay? But seriously though, let's tie this in, right? So we talk about some of these professions, teaching, teacher assistants, social work, therapy even, especially if you work for an organization and stuff like that. So any of those kind of more helping professions. In some places, even nursing and nursing aides and all of these sort of helping professions, right? A lot of women do go into those, maybe because many of us are natural nurturers and we're natural carers and we naturally are more empathic and blah, 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 right? So maybe that's true, right? But does that also mean that, like you said, Tiana, we don't need to eat? Or how about this, that we don't also want children? So one of the reasons I stopped working, one of my entrepreneurial journey stories, is that when we had our first kid, when Monkey Boy was born 6 years ago, I said, we can't, there's no way I can do social work and do this. It was less about the money. I mean, yes, it was something we thought about, but it was less about the money and more about, there is no way that I can give here 500% because, oh, by the way, that's what I did, and be at home and give even 50%. That was not a possibility for me. I used to think it was just my personality, but I don't think that's really true. I think that in a lot of ways, this disrespect goes back to just the general idea of how and why women have fought. I don't want to turn this into a woman show, but how women have fought and continue to fight in some different ways. Everybody has their own way for equal, whatever that looks like for you. Because we get that sort of rap that's like, oh, well, that's just what they do. We're not just anything.
Okay, look, because here's the thing that people don't understand. Like, I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a daughter, I'm a sister. And so men, they have their versions of all of that. I'm also a minister. I'm also an entrepreneur. And I'm doing all of these things at the same time. And what I'm doing is no less than what my husband is doing. And so we should be able to get paid the same and to experience the same level of respect. But there is also some research. One of the things that research is showing is that a lot of it has to do with, patriarchal history, but there's a decent portion of it that also has to do with the fact that we women, we are not as comfortable asking and demanding what we deserve. So research shows that if a man looks at a position and it shows that he can do like 40% of the job, he'll apply for it anyway. But women have to feel like 90% confident that they can do it before they'll apply for the job. But the reality is, most jobs, it doesn't matter how qualified you are for the job, you're still going to have to learn on the job. Same thing with business. Many of us will not start our businesses. Many of us will essentially fail in our businesses because we don't feel 100%, 90% confident that we can knock this out of the park. Well, you know what? I tell people all the time, do get scared. So there's going to be a lot of stuff. If you want to be successful in business, heck, you didn't know what you were doing when you had your kids. Like, there's books out the wazoo, but nothing could have prepared me for the little miniature. Okay, look, Gabriel is a miniature me. I should have emotionally been prepared for that. I was not. Nothing could have prepared me for this small tornado that is Gabriel Clewis. but I was still willing to do it. So that same level of faith that we put, that same willingness to try something new, to push ourselves, to demand more when it comes to our children, we should do the same things when it comes to our careers, when it comes to our businesses, when it comes to our marriages, gosh darn it.
You know what? And I love the way that you brought that up, because of course, I don't know if this isn't of course, but I'm going to say, of course, I agree. And the reason I agree is because that's my experience as well. So I know that your children are just a little bit older than mine. However, that 6-year-old is the biggest spitfire ever. And he has a lot of me and he has a lot of my husband. And you know what? He's little. So I maybe have learned how to balance, or, flip out and then be like, you know what, I maybe shouldn't have done that. Or,
Right.
I'm just really frustrated. He's like, rah, rah, rah. I mean, just recently he was like, I'm so mad at you about like cleaning up something, right? I said, what are you so mad at me about? Like, honestly, I'm that mom who like tries not to laugh. So anyway, he's like, hey, I know. So he's I'm so mad. I mean, screaming, stomping the whole, what are you so mad about? I'm really trying not to laugh. And he's like, cause you don't let me do anything. And rah, 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 rah. I said, oh, okay. Then he goes, well, but I cleaned up, so maybe we can still And of course, I'm looking at my mirror like, dude, no.
Yes.
Right? And it's only been 6 years. Okay, people, like, I'm about to get some handcuffs or something and just be like, stay in the room locked up, because you are going to go out there and you're going to be a terror. Not in a bad way, just by nature of who you are. Like he's an extrovert. Like that boy is 100% extroverted.
Right.
I knew he was an extrovert when he was like 1. Okay. That's not normal.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah. Okay. And when I'm an introvert and my husband's an introvert, then, and I can see it, I'm like, can I give him back? But see, here's the thing. I actually worked with a client. Okay, let's not be funny. I actually worked with a client one time. Yes, there was a lot of mental health, maybe some developmental stuff in process. She had a baby and she said, I want to give the baby back. It wasn't the gender that she wanted or that she thought she wanted. And so I refused to say, can we just give him back? Can we trade him in? Because I don't want to sound like that, except I sort of have had those moments, okay? But beyond that, though, let's get back on topic, okay? So beyond that,
I mean, I have a dad who used to say, "I'm gonna trade you in on a horse." So
see, there we go.
I don't judge.
There we go. See, and this is why Tiana's on the show, because she's super fun and she gets it. But like, no, but seriously. So, but when we're taking those steps to build our businesses, because I know you also work with a lot of startups, startup women and different things like that, in different industries, but I know that you work with a lot of startups, and sometimes that first of all, knowing finances, period, like what's going in and out of your regular bank account, like your personal account, and then bringing that over into business, I know is such a big jump for people. And it really scares people, or at least I've seen in the online space, that it really scares people to even want to try to learn finance, even at the most basic level, so that they actually can have a business and continue to grow, like find a way to grow that business and then continue to grow it as they get more experience. So let's talk about that a little bit. Like, let's talk about that. I mean, one of the themes this month is cultivating, right? And this is something that you do, is that you help for women to cultivate that financial understanding. So let's talk about that for a minute.
So, and because when you talk about finances, it's one of the things where we make it scarier. We make it scarier than it has to be. The truth of the matter is, money is a tool. It is a tool that is designed to help you get what you want in life. That's why I titled my book that tool called Money. Money is just a tool, but we let it become this big, scary monster. Now, when I look from say, for example, a business standpoint, when it comes to knowing what's going on with the money in your business, what a lot of people don't understand is bookkeeping, accounting, a big part of that is just putting money in the right categories. So when you did a transaction, what category does that transaction fall into? It's just putting them in the right categories and making sure that you have your money separate. So the number one mistake I see people do is that they do not have a separate bank account for their business.
Mhm.
And that's one of the things where I recommend that you do that from day one. Here's the thing though, you don't have to have a business, like one of those officially titled business accounts that's got a whole bunch of bells, a whole bunch of whistles, and a whole bunch of features that you probably don't even need. You just need somewhere for the money to go in and to go out. You don't need a whole bunch of extra. So the bank accounts I use for CELA, they're personal bank accounts. Eventually, they're going to go to an official commercial bank account, but right now, they're just personal bank accounts that I shifted over, and they're completely dedicated to my business. And then I allow software to do a lot of the heavy lifting for me. So I use QuickBooks Self-Employed. All I did was I linked QuickBooks to my bank account, and it just automatically pulls in all the transactions. And one of the things I did is because a lot of my transactions are the same thing over and over again, because as a coach, I have really low overhead. Well, I set rules. And so it automatically puts like 50% of my transactions into the right category for me because I set the rule one time.
Mhm.
I actually have this thing that this guide that I created called Decode Your Finances in 30 minutes a week or less. And that's just because it takes me about 20 minutes now, actually. It takes me about 20 minutes a week to know what's going on financially in my business. And so that's actually going to so that's one thing that, you can find it on my website. That's one of the things that is going to be super helpful because you set up your bank account, you link it to the QuickBooks, you let the QuickBooks do the math for you.
Mhm.
And once a week, you go in and you put the money in the right category. Once everything's in the right category, then you can start making smart decisions. Am I spending too much on marketing? Well, I spent $200 this month on marketing. Did I see any return on that? Looks like I didn't get any new clients from that $200. So I need to reevaluate what I'm using that $200 on. You can make those decisions once you have everything in the right category, but the technology is there to do it for you. And QuickBooks Self-Employed I pay $10.66 a month. That is a worthwhile investment for your sanity.
It is. It's, and I would have to say, I think that is $10.66. First of all, is super, super low compared to a lot of the other things that are out here or products that are out here. And if you're just starting out or you're just sort of clueless and you are in that process where you're kind of DIYing and kind of not DIYing and looking for help, but maybe aren't ready for full-on coaching, or you just can't fit it in financially or whatever the case may be, $10.66 is really reasonable. And so I love that you highlight that even as a financial coach who's been in business for a while, who's got a lot going on, still uses a product that's $10.66 a month. But the other thing about that is that you have this guide, right, that teaches people and shows people how they can balance or do their finances in about 30 minutes or less a week. And in all reality, all of our finances should kind of take that, right?
Yes.
Whether it's our personal finances or our business finances. I know for me, I don't have a sophisticated system. I'm still like spreadsheet and paper for our personal stuff. Like it totally works for me. I can look at it like this without the internet and all this stuff. So that's why I use it, and that's cool. However, I know that I need to do this, this, and this. And as soon as I've done this, this, and this, I look over here. I know what the number is over here. I know what the number is over here. I can see as the month progresses, because I'm one of those people that's like, I do it every week. When I look at it every week, then I know, okay, I already know that I'm spending a little bit extra on this thing that, or I spent a little extra and I know why. We went out of town. Okay. There was probably a little more eating out. It makes sense. That's why the groceries looks like I only spent $100. Okay. We spend way more than $100 a month, but it looks like $100 over the last 2 weeks. Oh, that's because we were out of town. Makes perfect sense. So it balances out. And so I love that you have a guide like that. And I love how you help people to understand that it totally is okay to just even take the smallest step whether it's business or personal finances, just do this one thing and start there. Spend $10.66 in business and everything's done for you. I think that's like a miracle. Like, sign me up. We might have to talk about that.
My thing is, if it's something that you don't want to do, it's something you don't enjoy. Like, I am a weirdo. I enjoy dealing with money. That's why I do what I do. But the thing is, if that's not you, like, for example, even in my I love dealing with money state, I still hate taxes. So I don't do my own taxes. I don't. I hire someone to do it. But and so what I did when it comes to taxes, I made it really simple for myself, because with my QuickBooks, I answer a couple of questions, push a button, it prints out a report. Mm-hmm. My accountant who does my taxes for me, he literally gives me a checklist. Tiana, here's everything that I need from you and your husband based on your life. And then they'll also give me a questionnaire to see what has changed. So that then based on what has changed, I give them the information he wants. Here's my stack. Take this stack. Go file my taxes. I can't get people for myself. Okay.
Yeah. Hey, but when you are somebody who is operating in this world, okay, you know what? Let's pull this back. Okay. Let's pull this back to, we stopped ourselves. We were very smart and we didn't go off about women and our status and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. Right. But let's go back to that for just a second, okay? Uh-huh. Because when we're doing lots of things, starting a business or not starting a business, and we're simply trying to run the household, maybe we work outside the home, maybe we're a full-time stay-at-home mom, and we don't have a side gig, we don't have a business, anything like that. The fact of the matter is, we still have a lot of things to balance. And traditionally, men go out to work, they bring the money home, they give it to the woman. Hey, this was way before the internet, people, okay? Right. Cash your check, bring it to the mama bear, okay? Yep. The mama bear then doles it out. Here's the husband's fund money, if that's a category. Here's the food money, here's the rent, here's the electricity, here's the water, here's the gas, here's the whatever it is. That's how it's always been. And why is it that women often, traditionally, fulfill that role? A, we have time to do it if we're home. B, we have space in our brains to do it if we're home, or even if we're not home, right? Mm-hmm. The other thing is, so I at one point in time was single. Tiana, at one point in time you were single. That's why you love your bee, and that's okay. But we had to do that for ourselves. We worked, we had to pay our bills, we had friends, we had, community involvement, whatever that may be, church or whatever it was. Like we had things that we were doing, and we still had to do those things at some point in time, our life and another person's life, at least in me and your case. At some point, we have two single people who are doing all these things, or at least trying to, and they get together and now they have to figure out how to do it together, and neither of them knows what they're doing. So why not learn what you're doing way ahead of time? And I know that's also something that you do.
Yes. So my husband and I are my greatest success story when it comes to marriage and money. So when my husband and I got married, I did have some debt. However, I was well on my way to being debt free. So I had already paid off my credit cards. I had a car that I had a couple of $1,000s on. I had a personal loan, I probably had a total of about $7,000 in debt when my husband and I got together, if you exclude my house, because I did own my own house when we got married. Now, he didn't have a whole lot of debt because he hadn't had credit cards before. And we'll just say some interesting things happened when he got divorced from his first wife. So that jacked up the financial situation. Yeah. But the thing about my husband was that, I'm just going to put it bluntly, he always out-earned his financial stupidity. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people try to do that. We make dumb financial decisions and then we try to out-earn our dumb financial decisions instead of trying to figure out what is causing us to make these silly decisions in the first place. So when you have on the way to debt free and out earning my stupidity, when we collide and try to do money together, it was a hot, raggedy mess.
I'm not laughing at you, right? No. I'm laughing with you, totally.
Because that's what research shows. I think it's 87% of people have a different money management style from their spouse. that leads to knockdown, drag out fights. I mean, like my husband went and slept in our son's bunk beds at one point. It got that bad. But then we got on the same page, and that's what it came down to. So part of it was financial transparency. Part of it was understanding that these fights we were having about money weren't actually about money. What a lot of people don't know or understand is that when you are fighting about money, you're actually fighting about underlying issues that are deep in your marriage. So I don't trust you because of something you did back when we were dating. And so now I don't trust you when it comes to money. And so there's actually a lot of hard work that goes on. So when you get on this, when you are intentional about working together as a team and you start to investigate those heart problems that are going on inside of your marriage, the money fights start to go away. And it's gotten to the point where my husband and I literally, I don't think we've had a money fight in 3 years.
That's amazing. That is a great success story. But it's an old stat. It's an old stat that many marriages end or have the potential to end about usually one of three things, and money is on the list. Usually it's, I know the big ones are money, religion, or, cultural stuff. And I forget what the third one is right now, but money is, I think, either the first one or the second one, or it might jump around. I forget how it works.
It depends on which lawyer you ask.
Yeah, right. But seriously, like, that is the thing. And I am so glad that there are people out there, that you are out there, that your husband's out there, that have these kind of stories to share with others. Not because it's not just about business. It is about personal finance. If you can't get your personal finances in order, the likelihood of you, knowing what your business finances are or need, or whatever the case may be, and then getting them in order is going to be really low. Like, there's no way, because what you understand outside of business is what you bring into business. What is it they say? Your business is you. I don't care what you call your business. You call your business Salah Financial Services. It's not your name.
Right.
My business is Me Organic Content Creation. It's not my name. But you know what? My business is still me. So if somebody says, hey, I don't like that you show up in tank tops on screen, I'm going to be like, yeah, I don't like that you said that, but like, what do you want me to do? Like, no, like, this works for me. Okay. So if you're going to come and style me every single day and make sure that, like, the kids aren't going to break my clothes or take pieces off or unravel them or wash them incorrectly, then you know what? I'm going to show up in tank tops sometimes. Okay?
Right.
And it's the same thing when it comes to finances. So I love how you said the stat was 86 or 87% of people have different money styles. But part of the reason we have different money styles is we came up differently. We have a different understanding of money. Maybe we came up in a household where they didn't talk about money at all. You never learned a lick of nothing about money. And then you were 18 and you got 1,005,000 credit card offers. And maybe you went to college or community college or whatever. You pursued something somewhere. Or maybe you had a job, but you needed a car to get to your job, or a bus ticket. Like, always there's something about money. So we have to talk about it. We have to talk about it. And the more we talk about it, and oh, by the way, the more we talk about it and then model to our children, the better off we're all going to be, right?
Yes. Like, for example, my husband and I, we do not want our kids to think that money grows on trees. We don't want them to think that anybody owes them anything. We don't want them to think that they can walk through life entitled. And so one of the things that my husband and I are doing is, so my husband just hired our son under contract. So, because one of the businesses that my husband has is computer repair, and our oldest son has expressed an interest in taking over the business from my husband. And so my husband was like, okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to get some computer repair gigs, and you are going to work all the gigs for 6 months. And 60 days. And if you fail to complete a certain percentage of your assignments without help in that 60 days, you're going to get fired. And he's a 12-year-old.
But it's true. Like, it's true. It's totally true. Like, so I have a 6-year-old, and my husband and I, we both have this thing where we're like, hey, we talked about this way before he was born. We talked about it in utero, and not me in utero. Anyway, anyway, so, but we talked about, like, we don't want to do allowance. We don't want to do, like, we don't want, it's just like, here's some money. You maybe did what you needed to do, or maybe didn't. And we do believe in rewards. And it's not that we want to hide money, but we don't want that entitlement about money. We also are working really hard to try to, and this is actually personal training. This is my personal training, my husband's personal training, and thus our children. So all of us as a family unit are working really hard to not feel like we need to be tied to money, because money is a tool.
Yes.
Also, money is out here to be gotten, and there are multiple ways you can do it. You can do it legally, illegally, like we want to avoid the illegal stuff, but there are all these things, right? But here's the thing, getting money and having money is not the same as understanding money or being able to manage finances.
Yes.
Right? Like, it's not the same thing. And people buy a house. Usually it's like most people do like a 30-year. I think some people are moving to 15s. You do like a 30-year. You may or may not have a deposit, that you like a down payment on the house, all this stuff, but the interest and all these things matter. And there are lots of ways for you to get the wool pulled over your eyes, or maybe I shouldn't say simultaneously, also the rug pulled out from under you. So you're blind and you're flat on your behind. So, ooh, that's a good quote. Okay, stay on task. Stop trying to create content. I was not intentionally trying to do that, but that comes so easily to me. Anyway, but that is part of our problem. And if I may venture to say, again, we're not going to get on Kendall Patton's soapbox and turn it into the rant show, but that's actually the problem with society. It's just my opinion.
It's a huge problem. So I'm going to use probably the weirdest example, but it works because it makes all the sense. So back in the day, I had some friends who had some questionable methods for making money. All right, I'll leave it there. And so these guys, I
love you, Tiana. That is hilarious.
No,
I get it. We're not going to talk. This is not the time and place to talk about our past.
But the thing is, like, on a given day, could easily make $1,000 to $2,000 a day, and you're working like 6 days a week, which means that if you do the math, let's say you made $1,000 a day for 316 days in the year. That means you've made $316,000 on the low end. And yet the moment you get caught, there's no money to bail you out of jail. Where did the 316 go? But it went on clothes, and it went on shoes, and it went on girls, and it went on parties, and all this foolishness. But when you think about it, if you're in the game for 3 years, you've made probably $1 million.
Or more.
And you have absolutely nothing to show for it because you spent it all. You made unwise financial decisions. You cannot out-earn your financial ignorance. You can't.
Well, isn't financial ignorance also tied to the idea, or at least this is what I think, and this is what I've always thought, actually, that financial, being able to make smarter or wiser financial decisions or not is actually tied to this idea about gratification, whether you do delayed or instant or like semi-delayed. I think that it's tied together, is it not?
Yeah, FOMO, YOLO, they are killing our generation, killing us. You're scared of missing out. You know, I only live once, so let me go and blah, 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 have a great time. The problem is that you have nothing to show for your great time except for a poppin' Instagram page. Your Instagram page is not going to take care of your retirement. Your Instagram page is, unless you're like, booty out or something, it's not going to put your kids through college.
Yep.
It's not. And so it's all about finding the balance. So one of the people I absolutely love, I love Dave Ramsey. But when it comes to getting out of debt and making financial decisions, he's a little extreme for most people because he will say rice and beans, beans and rice. And don't get me wrong, it works. But most people are not willing to go all the way down to rice and beans, beans and rice. So then I need you to find a middle ground. If you're not going to go extreme with it, then you have to find a middle ground. So if you're going to go on vacation, instead of going on that big extravagant vacation you wanted to go on, let's save up cash and let's take the kids on a road trip.
Mhm.
Let's do that instead. And we do the road trip once a year for 5 years while we get this debt paid off. And then the money that we were using to pay on debt, we can take, say, 25% of that and save that up for vacations and fun time. And the other 75% we can invest, or we can do 50 and 50. But it's about finding a balance. You can still have fun while reaching your financial goals.
Mhm.
The problem is that your financial goals have to be first and foremost, front and center in your mind, not the fun. But if you're
So,
focused on FOMO,
mhm.
fear of missing out, that's never going to happen.
So tell people, because you talk about this a lot. So tell people, how do you keep your financial goals front and center?
A budget. I know people hate the word. It's like a curse word. But if I break it down to you, a budget, the best word to describe a budget is plan. I made a plan for what I'm going to do with the money that's going to go in my household. So on paper, or like in my case, we use an app. We use everydollar.com. I'm addicted to this app. It is phenomenal. My husband hates managing money, and even he will use this app because it's just super simple. I've looked at a lot of budgeting apps, and a lot of them are really complicated, like Mint and You Need a Budget, and there was another one, My Budget or My Wallet or something like that. But I've looked at a lot of different budgeting apps, and they're usually like overly complicated. But with every dollar, it's just, okay, at the top, here's the money I'm going to make. And then below that, you can create categories, and here's where I'm going to spend this much. I'm going to spend this much on the house, this much on fun, this much on date night. And yes, date night matters. It makes it in my budget. This much on family entertainment, groceries, gas, and you just write out the plan. And you make sure that when you're creating the plan, whatever your financial goals are integrated into the plan. Now, the reason why I recommend that people use an app is because it's on your phone.
Mhm.
Your plan is always there. And if you link the app to your bank accounts, then all you have to do is you can see practically real time where you are in each category.
Mhm.
So it's summertime. We have 4 kids. 2 of them are out athletes. They are eating me out of house and home. So our food budget is really big. But because I budget my money and I know how much we spend on food whenever they're in school, I knew that when we got out of school, I was probably going to have to bump that up a good 20-30% easily. So that's what I did, so that and in doing that, I also knew, okay, somewhere else I need to take some money away.
Mhm.
But because I had this plan in place, it's down, it's in front of me, or in my case, it's on my phone, which I don't know about you, but my phone goes everywhere.
Mhm.
I can make smart decisions that align with the goals I have because I've built my financial goals into my budget.
Mhm. Yep. Yeah.
A
And
budget
that's
is not a
and that's a
strategy.
great that's such a great tip. And I just want to say this. I think you'll agree. So I feel free saying it in front of you. But when we budget and we make this plan, right? If we're going to use an alternate word, we make a plan or we have a strategy, right?
Yep.
That when we do it, we don't have to do it from that place of not enough. And we don't have to do it entirely. We don't have to entirely do it from a place of restriction, right?
Yes.
Okay, there's a thing that I've tried. Okay, this is my disclosure, where I've tried. Okay, we are not going to spend money eating out. That lasted about 1 week. Okay, the reality is I need a break, whether it's from doing the dishes or actually the cooking, or maybe just the thinking about it, or you know what, I need a time off.
Yeah.
And time off for somebody who's an introvert might take a couple of days. So we need to have some quick things or some easy things or some leftovers in the fridge, pop them in the oven, everybody's done.
Mm-hmm.
Or I need just time with my family, and maybe we're going somewhere, but at some point we're going to need to eat. So I have to be okay with that. Now it's in the budget.
Yeah.
Like, I want to do the cash thing, just because I like the sensation isn't the word, but I like the actual passing over, because
Uh-huh.
I'm less likely to forget, oh,
Mm-hmm.
we did stop and get extra snacks. Like,
Uh-huh.
I'm more likely to forget that, even if in the moment I was like, wow, we just spent $15 on snacks at
Yeah.
the convenience store. Like, even though I will say that in the moment, get me to budget time, and I'm like, what in the world did I spend $15 at the store for? Like,
Yeah.
I don't even listen, I don't even go to convenience stores. Like, it's not my thing. I go and I get gas and I leave, and that's it. Like, I've always been like that. So stopping and like getting snacks, even occasionally, like very rarely, still like throws me off. I'm like, what? Why didn't we just like eat? What? What's
Right.
happening here? Like, can we just go home? Oh, we're like 3 hours from home. Okay, we can't go home. So
And that's the problem we have. So we live in the Dallas area, but we actually live in a town called Midlothian. And so we live in Midlothian. Our kids go to school in Midlothian, but our youngest one is too young to get into we don't qualify to get him into pre-K. And so where he goes is to my aunt's house, which is 35 minutes away. And then most days I'm working at my church, which is where I am now, and that's another 15, 20 minutes. And so I'm always on the road. And I'm going to tell you the truth. What I want to eat at any given time depends on my mood. So I might cook me some salmon and some rice and some green beans and pack it and bring it with me. There is a 60% chance I'm not eating that. And so Tiana has her discretionary funds, and if Tiana wants to go and get herself a refresher, she's going to go get one, because it's built in my budget. I have permission to spend that money because I put it in my budget. And so if you're looking at your budget like it is a straitjacket, then no, you're not going to want to do it. But if you look at it as, one, this is my roadmap to get to my financial goals, and two, this gives me permission to spend money on clothes because I budgeted $200 for clothes. That means it's the end of the month. I haven't spent any money on clothes. I have permission to go shopping, which I hate to shop, but other
or
women
or you have permission to save it or do something else with it. Like, maybe that month you don't want to go shopping, as an example, right? With the example you gave, maybe I don't want to spend the $200 on clothes this month because I feel like I have enough clothes and I don't really feel like I need to refresh in my wardrobe. But maybe, just maybe I want to go get a massage.
Hey, I do
Okay.
love a massage.
You see what I'm saying? But that's the thing. And so that's what I knew you'd be okay with it, because I know this is what you talk about. This is what you financially preach, if you will, right? But this is what you talk about. And you talk about, you can create a budget, but you can also do it so that you don't feel stuck by your budget. Because what's worse, if you're stuck financially, you create a budget or a plan to try to fix that financial situation. And then that plan makes you feel stuck. It's
Yes.
not fun.
Because like last year, for example, my husband and I, we decided that we were going to go to Vegas for our anniversary last year. And so we saved up our money. So part of our budget was saving money for the Vegas trip. And so like whenever we're going on a trip, we actually create a budget for that trip. And that's how we know how much we need to save each month. So in the budget for that trip, we actually budgeted for an insanely expensive meal. Like, we had decided we were going to dress up and go to a top-notch restaurant. And so we ended up at Steak Strip in Mandalay Bay. Have you heard of Wagyu beef?
No.
Okay. So Wagyu is like the beef where it typically comes from Japan. And a lot of time, and have you ever heard of like them? They have the specialty cows where they like massage their muscles and stuff like that. That's that beef.
Oh.
That beef on the low end is $90. My husband and I spent over $400 on one dinner, and we did not feel bad about it. Why? Because it was in the budget. We had planned for it. You can have a fabulous life on a budget. I've gone skydiving on a budget. I've gone to St. Thomas on a budget. I've gone to Australia on a budget. I've had a fabulous life, and I've been on a budget the entire time.
And I think that's a really good point that you bring out. And I'm so glad that you mentioned that. And your example, I think, really drives the point home that budgeting really is for all parts of life. It's not just for how do we run our household or how do we run our business. It's really like, how do we actually live the life that we really want to live? In a way that we are going to walk away from any experience or whatever and actually be like, okay, as opposed to being like, oh shit, I just spent $400 on dinner.
Okay.
Right? Or looking at your husband on your anniversary dinner, your very special dinner that you wanted to have and that you planned for, but maybe you didn't plan appropriately for budget-wise, right? And you're looking across at the dinner table with Wagyu beef and going, I really don't like that one little piece of beef right there costs $90, babe. Mm-hmm. And here you are, you're about to have a financial argument, meltdown, discussion, but you're supposed to be enjoying yourself and you're supposed to be celebrating your partnership and your love and your life together. So I think that's really awesome that you use that as an example. I think it's perfect, actually. But okay, I know that we've kept people here for quite a while. However, I want to make sure that we get a couple of things from Tiana, and one of those things is the Starlight Round of Questions. Now, Tiana, I do these Starlight Round of Questions. You can say no, but I do these Starlight Round of Questions. It's just 3 questions. I think they're surface level, but they have a deeper element. You can go as deep as you want. The only caveat is, and I'm not going to forget the word, the only caveat is that you cannot self-moderate. You cannot do that. So whatever pops in your head when I ask the question is your answer. There's no fixing it, changing it, pulling it back, being like, ooh, that's a little too weird. Ooh, that's a little out there. Can't do that. You just have to say it. Okay.
Yep, this is all in my element. Let's do this.
Exactly. Okay, great. Because that's how we like to do things around here as well. Okay, first question. We are going to mix it up. I always mix it up. What's the question? The question is, tell me one of your biggest personal changes in the process of building your business.
One of my biggest personal changes is compassion. So I have always been a very straightforward, I'm limited on tact. Like, I'm just not a tactful person. I have not ever been, and I've been learning how to become so. And even when I first started my business, I didn't realize how much hard work was involved in managing finances, because I knew the math. And so in this business, in coaching financially and coaching in business, I've had to really do a lot of hard work for myself so that I can do the hard work with my clients. So compassion.
Wow. And that is a big one. And I have to tell you, that's not my biggest personal change. I'm not going to answer it because it's my interview. No, but that compassion piece and the tact, I think, is really an important one, especially because, and I'll say this, because I understand what it's like to be like, this is what you need to do. Period, end of discussion. Now, that's my phrase. Period, end of discussion. Okay. Period, end of discussion. Like, I'll totally go there. Miss Attitude. Yep, that's me. I can get like that. Okay. So I understand that. And I have to tell you that I sometimes have to check my compassion with other people, definitely with myself, but definitely with other people as well, because sometimes I'm like, but this is a smart lady. Like, and because here's the thing, I can be tactful, but sometimes I have to check the compassion, because I'm like, okay, well, this is what you need to do, and and I can do that, and I can be tactful, and I can share things to different audiences. Yep. But sometimes I have to be like, okay, I really am getting ready to break this lady's heart. And now
Yeah.
this doesn't happen in content creation. Okay. Don't be scared. Like I'm not crazy like that. I'm not going to be like, oh my God, that was the worst video I've ever heard. No, I'm not going to say that. What I'm going to do is give you tips like, oh, this might be a better choice, or, maybe you should use headphones, simple things. But in my previous work, I really had to break people's hearts sometimes. Kids, adults, semi-adults, older adults, family members. I had to break people's hearts, and I didn't want to. But there were times that I needed to. And sometimes I would break people's hearts and they wouldn't understand because of their own facilities why it was that I needed to break their heart. So I need to check that. And as a business owner, I need to check that in the online space. Okay.
Yes,
because sometimes I can get a little bit, I have to stop. This is why sometimes you guys see me online like a lot, and other times you're like, oh, I only saw her like once today. That's because I probably saw something I need to check myself. So I'm going to be an introvert and I'm going to check myself, and then I'll come back. Okay. So I love that you highlighted that, because compassion is such a huge thing in general. And then when you talk about money, that is people's lives. That is people's lives. It's their livelihoods. It's everything. A lot of the time it's everything about them, even if they don't have money.
Right. It is.
So I love that you highlighted that. And it just talks a little bit about who you are as a person and how much faith you have in spirituality. Anyways, I went on and on. Let's talk about a different one. Number 2 question. What is your biggest life or business challenge right now? And how would you like to see that change? And how can we help you?
So this is going to sound odd, but my biggest challenge is marketing. And it's only because I don't like it. I just want to coach the people. Like, I just want to coach you. I just want to teach with you. I want to sit down with you and work through your issues. I don't want to have to like market, and because people say people don't want to be marketed to. They want to be seduced. I don't want to seduce you. Like, I'll seduce my husband. I don't want to have to seduce you. Like,
oh,
like all I want. And I think this is like probably for most people, like unless you love marketing, you just want the people to show up and we do what we do and we make it happen. So that is probably always going to be it, because I spent much of my life very disconnected from my emotions, a lot of childhood trauma, a lot of stuff that made me like emotionally shut down, which is one of the reasons why compassion was an issue for me. And when it comes to marketing, you have to appeal. You have to be very focused on appealing emotionally, because people don't make decisions based on logic as much as people want to think that they do. What's weird though is that I'm one of those people who does. Like, I'm a very literal person. And so I think about it before I feel about it. And so it's very difficult for me sometimes to skip over the logic part and go to the emotion part and then bring it back to logic. So that's probably always going to be a struggle for me. But once I actually have like a little baby team developing that is helping me do that though.
And that's awesome. So I'm glad that you have that baby team. And we're not going to talk about how well you speak my language. So we're just going to skip over that. And we're going to move on to the next question, because we've done enough of, Kindle kind of tell it all here. No, but seriously, I love that you stated that as one of your challenges, because it's such a big piece of business.
Yes.
And of growing a business, which you've been able to do. You've grown your business from, you started with very basic personal finance, and you have grown that to coaching, finances, and lots of other things, as well as podcasting, as well as all the other roles that you're filling in life. And you're rocking them. So I think that's a really important one as well. Last question. Share with us your biggest dream goal for this year, personal or business.
My biggest, okay, I got to create a new one. And that's because I already hit the big one that I had set for myself. And that was like 2 weeks ago. So I haven't set a new one.
Wow.
My biggest goal for this year was to preach my first sermon. And I did that on June 30th.
That's awesome.
So I have to set a new goal. But I would say, I guess, when I think about it, My biggest one is just to sell out my boot camp. So this on September 13th and 14th, I'm having my Dream Builders Business Boot Camp. This is the second year we've done it, and I've revamped it based on feedback from last year. So everyone who came last year thought it was phenomenal, but there was like three main areas that they wanted to change. And so I've made changes in each of those three areas. And my biggest dream for that, my biggest goal is really just to sell it out. Because when the women come, they get the goods, they love what they're getting. And so I want there's enough money around for all of us to be successful. So like, I want you guys to come and to get the goods, listen to the speakers, connect with the speakers, do the Q&A, connect with each other so that we can be more successful together.
Yeah. No, I love that. Okay, first of all, I know I clapped while you were talking, and that might be weird to people, but you know what? Preaching your first sermon is a big flipping deal.
It was terrifying.
I could imagine it's terrifying because you are, okay, a sermon said in front of a very small group of people is one thing. Preaching a sermon, presumably in front of a larger group, maybe even your entire church community or your faith community, is a humongous deal. You have, I don't know. It depends on how big your faith community is. Maybe you have 100 people watching you and literally critiquing you, the way you look, the way you speak, what words you're using, the sentences you're saying, whether or not you're standing at the podium or walking around or shouting or speaking at a low volume, the way you open your prayer, if you do a prayer, the way you close. Like, everybody has something to say about something. And there's a lot of personalities in that. So you can have a lot of things. A lot of people have a lot of things to say. They also have a lot of different ways to say them.
Right.
And so for you to have done that and already have achieved that big goal for yourself in your life, and that is amazing. And I want to commend you for that, because I have fantasy in my head that I would like to speak at the Friends Meeting House we attend. And I have yet to even broach the subject with our very open and very willing pastoral lead. So I have fantasy.
Like, I mean, like, so serious, like, go call the pastor. Like, when we're done, go call the pastor. I called my pastor and I was like, okay, bro, so here's the thing. I've been praying about this. The Lord said, go take your place. So my church, I've actually known I was called to preach since I was a kid. I used to actually have visions of myself preaching. And so, but I had to grow. I had to develop. And one of the things I had to do is, as a Leos tend to have really big egos. And I wanted to make sure that when I mounted that platform, I was mounting it in his glory and not for my own ego. And so I actually started taking positions in the background and focusing my energy and attention on the background and doing everything I could to stay in the background. Well, when my church went through a recent transition, I said, Lord, what can I do to help with this transition? And God says to me, plain as day, take your place. I knew what it meant. I made the phone call.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I totally know what you mean. I know what you mean. I know what you mean. I had an experience I haven't talked about in a while. I had an experience back in November of 18, so not that much long ago. And it was a very spiritual experience, and God and I had a very interesting conversation. And basically he said, what decision are you going to make? What are you going to do? Are you going to step up and step out or what? Because otherwise, I don't really know what to do here. He didn't say that part, but that was my impression. It's like, I don't really know what else to do with you if you're not going to make a decision. And so I started to make some decisions and some choices. And, so here we are. I'm still stepping in. I'm still stepping out. And so I get what it means when it's like, okay, is that okay? Okay. I have to do that. I totally have to do that. I totally have to be so humble is like an overused word, but I have to be so humble to cry about it, to scream about it, to be upset about it, to fight against it. I have to do all of that so that I get to that place of, okay, yes, I'm open. Let's go. I have to. And so it sounds like in some ways that was sort of your experience. I mean, I know it's a longer story. Mine's a longer story. I mean, we could go on for like 5 hours probably about that by itself. But yes, I'm very happy for you to have reached that goal. Look, I really have a tear. So I try not to cry on camera, but sometimes I can't help it.
This is a conversation I've been having with a lot of women lately, though. Like literally, I had a phone call yesterday when I had to remind a young lady where she was like, she's one of those people who has questions about the natural and the spiritual. And she's like, well, God didn't tell me to do this business. So does it mean that that business isn't what I should do? And I said, do you truly want to do this? Is this something you're passionate about? She said, yes. Every time I do this, it puts a smile on my face. I said, well, remember that the Bible says that God will give you the desires of your heart. Now, we're not going to turn this into a sermon, but my thing is whatever it is that God has called you to do, whatever it is he's put on your heart, a purpose in your heart, go and do it. That's where you will find peace. That's where you will find joy. That's where you'll find prosperity, financial and emotionally and mentally. Like,
yes.
Go down that path. Go do it. I don't care if it's scary. Everything that God calls you to do is terrifying. He's not going to give you baby visions. He's not going to give you baby dreams. They're always going to be big and massive and terrifying. Go do them anyway because it is worth it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I'm going to resist to go like preach. So anyway.
I
am too funny. Okay, but then your other big goal was, now I have to remember. Don't remind me. I'll remember. Oh, your program, the boot camp. That is to sell that out and to empower more women and more women who are moms and wives, or women who are just women and they just want to like get by in life, because let's face it, like women are starting to have a harder and harder time getting by in life, because I'm not going to talk about wage gap because I have other opinions about that than probably a lot of people, and we're not going to start a debate. However, we did talk about how many women take positions or go into professions that inherently are financially disrespectful. We'll just leave it like that. We already talked about that. So anyway, selling out that program, empowering more women, bringing that knowledge and that belief and all of that in themselves, for themselves and their lives, whatever that looks like, is humongous. I love that goal. We're going to need for you to drop that link or some kind of way to like mention that below, because people need to check it out. They need to see what it is. And oh, by the way, we need to see if we can attend. So is it in person or online?
So what I've decided to do this year is it's going to be in person, but I also am going to create a private Facebook group. So if anyone cannot get to the Dallas area to attend, then we have our virtual passes and you can see the whole thing. You can still get the goodness.
Okay, awesome. I love that even better. So definitely give us some links and stuff like that so we can start checking that out and all that good stuff. But before we close, I want to say thank you. Please tell everybody once again, Tiana, who you are, what you do, because they maybe missed it throughout the whole conversation. Tell people who you are, what you do, where we can find you online. We will make sure that we drop those links below. Go ahead and let us know.
So Tiana B. Clewis, financial lifestyle coach and startup strategist with my labor of love, CLA Financial Coaching. I focus on helping women get their money right at home and in their business. So you can always find me at CLAFC.com. Or if you want to hear what it is I have to say and you're on the go ahead and head over to my podcast, The Dreamers Financial Playbook. You can find it pretty much anywhere that you listen to podcasts, or you can always pop into dreamersfinancialplaybook.com. So yeah, come find me, come kick it. Let's hang out. Let's chat about these monies and these businesses, because we got generational curses to break.
That's right. Girl, speak it. Okay. All right. Thank you. So I just had to breathe. I have to breathe. I hear so much stuff. You have a lot of power, Tiana, and I'm really happy and really, really pleased that you decided to join me for today's Sparkle and Shine interview series event. And I cannot wait to see what else happens in the world for you. Also,
thank you for inviting me.
of course. I hope that everybody had a wonderful time during our discussion. I hope you learned a lot. I hope you had some funny times, not at Tiana, but at me. Don't laugh at her. She's a great person. I'm just a goofy. So no, but seriously, I do hope that everybody learned a little something. Please go check her out on her channels, through our website, through the podcast. Absolutely listen to the podcast. There's tons of nuggets there. And in case you tuned in and still don't know who I am, I'm Kendall Patton. I have to make fun of myself. I'm tripping Tiana out like crazy. I'm Kendall Patton. I run Me Organ Content Creation Services, where entrepreneurs and business owners hire me to repurpose their existing content to increase their reach and visibility while maximizing their time, content, and energy. I hope that everyone has a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you again for joining us. Check out the links below, and we will be in touch. If you've got questions, make sure that you ask them. Take care. Bye-bye.